Hello, good afternoon, everybody. We are waiting a few minutes for everyone to join. Tim, when we are still showing the slide that the event will begin shortly.
Okay, thank you, Patrick. Okay. Okay, it's 3 minutes past. I suggest we get started.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to this webinar, which is organized by the MBB and the Malta Chamber. It's titled Energy and Water Financing Measures, and it's part of the We Make project, which stands for Water and Energy Management and Knowledge Transfer in Manufacturing Enterprises. It is funded by the Energy and Water Agency with the support of Malta Enterprise. The We Make project is a project which helps manufacturing enterprises utilize existing schemes to check their need for energy use and how they can make the energy use more efficient, and also invest in projects to actually put this into effect. And this particular project is information exchange from the various stakeholders who will be introducing various schemes. I'd like to introduce Dr. Martes Portelli, the CEO of the Malta Chamber, to make a short introduction. You are muted, Martes.
Good afternoon, everyone. It is indeed a pleasure to be here with you for this webinar. And first of all, I would like to start off by thanking MBB and the strong collaboration that we have. Patrick Spiteri-Staines, who heads our committee as well, which focuses on energy and energy conservation, and also the input that we find regularly coming both from Malta Enterprise and the Energy and Water Agency. So why did the Malta Chamber decide to embark on this project? As the Malta Chamber, we believe that we need to embrace sustainability in a tangible way by taking a tangible approach. And therefore, with this project, we are helping companies with their energy audits, but going even beyond the energy audits, and that in today's webinar, we will be helping companies to identify schemes which they can use, which they can benefit from in order to implement the recommendations that come out from the audits per se. As we know, audits do cost a lot of money, and apart from that, you would require HR and expertise in order to carry them out correctly, and therefore this is the reason why we felt it worthwhile to enter into this collaboration and bring it forward. It's all about hand-holding our companies, particularly more so when we all know that energy prices are soaring worldwide, and therefore it makes full business sense to invest in systems that will help to contain these costs as well. During today's webinar, apart from sharing experiences, those following us will also be given a high-level overview about the funding that they can benefit for, funding when it comes for energy audits, funding for when it comes to substituting or upgrading any equipment or installations within their businesses, funding for the renovation and also upgrading of equipment, whether it's going to be used for heating or for cooling systems, funding when it comes to systems related to illumination, as well as funding for those industries, both whether they are startups or not startups, which are investing directly in the creation of new green jobs. That is my short summary for the beginning. I would like to once again thank again the Energy and the Water Agency for their support, Malta Enterprise for being with us today, and obviously MBB as well. So thank you, and I wish you all the best of luck.
Thank you, Dr. Portelli. Just some quick housekeeping, just to all the people who are attending. If you switch to speaker view, it will make your viewing experience better. And also for your information, the session is being recorded. Okay. With that, I will pass on to the CEO of the Energy and Water Agency, Mr. Manuel Sapiano, to give an introduction on the agency. Thank you.
So good afternoon to all, and thanks to Engineer Hospitalis Staines, the MBB, Malta Chamber, Malta Enterprise, and all our partners in this, I would say, initiative, which goes beyond this project. This We Make project is a very important, I would say, initiative for the agency, not only because it is a supporting an important sector in our economy, but it's also because we're looking at a cooperation agreement between a public agency and let's say a private representative agency such as the Malta Business Bureau and the Malta Chamber of Enterprise and Industry. And therefore, for us, it's a way of how the public and the private sector need to move together to deliver results where those results are really warranted. Through the project, we want to achieve a higher level of engagement with the business community, obviously on aspects of energy and water conservation, efficiency in use, and create the environment through which businesses can be supported to engage in the implementation of such projects, such efficiency, such demand management projects, which can then optimize their operation. And therefore, apart from looking at, let's say, the environmental aspect of using resources efficiently, we also need to look at how we can use sustainability to also increase competitiveness, because sustainability can be a tool which can increase the sustainable and the development of all our commercial sectors. Today's workshop, as Dr. Portelli mentioned, will address financing opportunities, including but not, let's say, limited to EWA's energy audit scheme, which also is intended to lead operators to other financing opportunities, other financial tools which are operated by other public and private entities in Malta. Definitely, I look forward to the presentations and also the discussion. And to close, I would like to thank firstly the staff from the agency who were involved in the drafting and are involved in the implementation of this We Make project, and also representatives from the Malta Business Bureau and the Malta Chamber, with whom we are working to ensure that this project turns out from the, let's say, from the words on the papers which have described its being into tangible action, which can have a real impact in developing an environment which is conducive to the sustainable development of our commercial sectors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sapiano. I would like to introduce Mrs. Natalie Farrugia, Chief Officer of Malta Corporate Services, Malta Enterprise, to make her introduction.
Good afternoon to everyone, and thank you for the invitation to being with you today. It's very nice, and we're very happy to see a number of businesses coming together to really start understanding the support that can be offered through different entities in order to sustain and support sustainability. Sustainability in the wider sense of the word, which includes energy, efficiency, digitization, and other things which can help us to improve the processes when we are running our own businesses. As you will hear from my colleague Nadia, today we will be presenting three main schemes. The Change to Grow, which offers advisory service to optimize transformation processes of businesses. We will also provide a short overview of the Smart and Sustainability Scheme, which again will showcase the efforts that we are carrying out to support the digitization and sustainability transformation of our businesses. And also we will be looking at the investment aid that we can offer towards energy efficiency projects. And this is a scheme which we run in collaboration with EWA as well. Of course, as I have said today, more than ever, we are aware of the need to make sure that our businesses are running in a sustainable manner. So obviously, please feel free to reach out with any questions or comments that you might have at the end of the session. And of course, please feel free to reach out to our colleagues at Business First, which will be more than happy to answer any queries or provide you with any clarifications on the support that we can offer. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Farrugia. With that, I think we can introduce Mrs. Lorna Tagliana from the Energy and Water Agency. As was indicated at the end of both sessions, we will have a question and answer session. I would like, or I would please, if you could please use the question and answer facility on Zoom to write your questions. At the end, we will go through them and we will get different speakers to give you or try to give you an answer to the questions or queries that you reach. With that, I would like to introduce Dr. Lorna Tagliana.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm happy to see so many companies attending. I'm here to introduce mainly the scheme we have to support SMEs with regards to energy audits. I will briefly explain the role of the agency and focus more on the scheme, what access do you have for the scheme, what cappings there are, and the process that you need to go through in order to avail yourself of this system. For many of you that are not familiar with the agency, the role of the agency as a government entity is to oversee the energy and water policy. Basically, we operate in various aspects. We help government to design policy. We are there to secure governance across ministries when it comes to energy and water. We provide monitoring, reviewing, and updating of EU directives. We report to in line with EU directives on these aspects. We also work with various international agencies in order to create coherence, and we also use it for knowledge sharing. In some cases we learn, in some cases we teach. And as has been seen through various projects and initiatives we took lately, like this we make, and we also have other projects ongoing, we are also working a lot with stakeholders to try to support them and learn from them what needs to be done to move us, of course, towards the targets being set both by EU and both locally for our benefit of everyone, basically. So this is the areas where we work. Within this aspect, we manage the energy audit scheme, which basically helps companies in implementing an energy audit, and we help fund the costs that are involved in an energy audit. I would like to spend a couple of minutes explaining briefly what an energy audit is. Maybe some of you might not be familiar, but we all go to the doctor now and have a checkup when we're not feeling very well, or sometimes as you grow older, you tend to do it just as a routine, and that's where you discover you have problems. An energy audit, that's what it is. You evaluate your company from an energy and water consumption perspective. So you understand where you are in terms of your consumption. You cannot control what you don't measure. So it's like a deep dive into how the company is working, where the energy consumption is going. And when we're talking of energy, we're not talking of electricity only. We're talking of fuels. If you have renewables, how are you using them? Heating and cooling. Do you have enough insulation in your building? All these go into an energy audit study. Through this study, the auditor will be able to give the company a detailed screenshot of what is happening, where most of the energy is being consumed, where most of the water is being consumed, what are the machines that are not operating as they should, or maybe you have old vehicles that are not, we tend to cling to machinery and equipment till the very last breath, but we don't realize that in the last years of their lifetime, they cost us more in consumption and maintenance than they actually do on their book values. Once you have the screenshot of what is exactly happening, the auditor will be able to provide a report to the company detailing all this information, and most importantly, what can be done to improve on your performance. How can you improve your energy performance? How can you improve your water consumption? So that's the aim of an energy audit. In line with this, of course, the company, what does it get in return? Something to work on. There were many occasions where simple things were identified that provided immediate savings without the need of an investment at all. But in most cases, there is investment required, and that's why this session is being done in conjunction with Malta Enterprise, because there are other schemes that then will help you throughout that investment. But the audit is the first step to provide you with a pathway, a number of opportunities where you can tackle losses that you have and improve on them. So that's the idea of having an energy audit, and why we push so much for it as an agency, and it's also taken a lot of importance when it comes to directives that have to do with energy and water efficiency. The scheme is open to all small and medium-sized enterprises, and there are two categories, A, or what we call scheme A or B, depending on how much funding you have actually received from government. So even if you have exceeded your de minimis funding, it doesn't matter. There is scheme B that will also allow you some funding for the audit. What is the refund that you are eligible for? The scheme covers the cost of the energy auditor that comes into your company and does the audit. So that's the part of the cost that will be covered. The audit will take a number of months to be carried out, so there's an expense to it. Therefore, the agency supports the company in paying off the service of the auditing. Currently, the scheme is open, and we have just launched it January of this year with some modifications and improvements that I will explain later on. And the plan is to leave it open till September of 2023 for sure, unless something happens, we don't know. But the idea, we always had the scheme running over the past years, and the idea is always to keep it running. And actually, after some years, we keep on improving on it based on feedback we receive. What are the categories? Depending on the type of companies and what operations they do, the capping varies. So we look at medium-sized enterprises that can have a benefit of 5,000 or 3,000, depending on their operations. And smaller sized companies can benefit from 3,000 or 1,000 euros, depending again on their operations. From this year, we've added an additional refund. Basically, the company can opt to have an additional template filled in with this audit for an additional refund of 500 euros. It is offered to all companies, independent whether they're small or medium, and it's a decision that the company can take whenever within the duration of the audit. This template is being designed, and it is now finalized and will be put on our website shortly to give you all the information that the company needs to do an investment. So the idea is that the auditor will choose, as guided by the company, an investment that has been proposed to improve. And this template guides the auditor in all the information that is normally requested in a number of schemes that are available both from Malta Enterprise and also through private funding with banks and other financial institutions. So the idea is that at least one of those measures that the auditor would have prepared, we're supporting the company by giving them more support to have everything ready. So if they really want to invest, all they need to do is grab that additional template and pass it on to either Malta Enterprise or other financial institutions and request the funding they require. The process is very simple. All the application forms are available on our website. So all you have to do is log in onto our website and look under schemes. Download the application, either Scheme A or Scheme B accordingly, and it is sent to us via email or uploaded via the site itself. We receive it, we process it and issue what we call a letter of intent, whereby you are being told that yes, the company is eligible, and it tells you exactly the capping that you fall under, and that you're also eligible for an additional 500 euros if you fill in the template, and that you have 6 months to complete the audit. At that stage, then the company should contact a certified energy auditor, of which there are many locally, and they are available on the regulator's website. So it's literally, you can just log in, download the sheet, and you have contact emails and phone numbers, and carry on with the audit. Once the audit is completed, it is sent back to us, we review it, approve it, and once you provide us the payment that the fiscal receipt against the payment you made, we issue the refund. One thing I'd like to point out is that this process is a helping hand process. So we do receive applications that are not properly filled in. Our role is to help you fill it in properly. Sometimes audit reports do have some missing things according to the schedule. It's not a concern. We revert back and your auditor amends as needed. So once you have everything in line, our purpose is to help you finish this audit report and of course get the benefit out of it. Of course, each company is allowed only to benefit from this once. Should you require further information, as I said, everything is available on our website, energywateragency.gov.mt. We also have a generic email that can be used on any questions related to energy or water consumption, which is energyefficiency@gov.mt. Or there's my personal details. I'm sure Timothy will be sharing this further on after the session, where you have all the contact information. I guess that's it from my side. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Lorna. A very interesting presentation. I hope this has opened up some information for the members to consider energy audits, also because it will not cost them any money because they are subsidized, and they will get benefits in terms of information on how they can actually save energy and money, hence reduce their running costs. And I look forward to the next speaker, Nadia Grech from Water Enterprise, who is going to make a presentation on the schemes available to fund the energy saving measures or investments that companies would like to consider.
Thank you, Patrick. And I would like to thank the members for joining this webinar today. As today we'll be looking into 3 multi-enterprise schemes, which will be covering growth, sustainability, and even enhanced performance. Right, I will be commencing this part of the session with the Change to Grow scheme. And this scheme is directed towards SMEs. I think we have a bit of technical issues with the presentation. You can just bear with us a moment, please.
Nadia, you can try from the bottom right of your screen, yeah, where there's that slider.
We managed. Thank you. We apologize for the delay. Right, so as I was saying, we're going to commence this session with the Change to Grow scheme. And this scheme is targeted towards SMEs. All right, so through the support of an external advisor, an SME can implement transformation processes, which leads to growth, sustainability, and optimized performance. And with the help of the same advisor, SMEs can perform significant changes that will enable them to accelerate development address sustainability and improve market access to enhance their processes, embrace digital technology, and also to implement sustainable solutions. Now, SMEs and self-employed applicants are considered eligible under the scheme, and they need to have at least one full-time employee engaged with Jobs Plus. And it's important to note that the scheme is a de minimis measure, meaning that applicants cannot make use of more than 200,000 in state aid over any period of 3 consecutive fiscal years. Now, the scheme is offering a maximum grant of 10,000 euros, disbursed as a reimbursement of 75% of the eligible costs incurred. Now, the scheme is set on 2 stages. The first stage is the advisory stage, which is tied to a grant of up to 5,000 euros and up to 120 euros per hour. And the applicant selects the advisor, who will then assess the operations and come up with recommendations which will address transformational processes. Now, during the second stage, which is the implementation stage, this will cover 5,000 euros in order to implement any of the recommendations which were put forward initially by the advisor during the advisory stage. Now, which are the qualifying advisory services under the scheme? Now, applicants can choose a number of measures, which I'm going to go through right now. So they can choose digitization of business processes, performance optimization, process improvements, environmental performance and sustainability, implementation of quality systems, product process certifications, pricing analysis, marketing positioning, human resource optimization, and any other actions as may be justified by the applicant. And beneficiaries are to complete the advisory stage within 6 months of corporation approval. Now, any recommendations put forward during the Change to Grow advisory can also be claimed under the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant Scheme, if the investment is more than 10,000 euros and if the investment falls under the eligible measures of the scheme. Now, applicants interested in applying must first operate from a licensed commercial property, and the investment must be a minimum of 10,000 euros. And the aim of the scheme is to achieve sustainability, improved environmental performance, or else digitization. The scheme also falls under de minimis regulation, and anyone wishing to apply must do so by the 30th November of next year, while ensuring that one full-time employee is registered with Jobs Plus, and this also includes self-employed full-time equivalents. Now, the scheme will cover 50% of the investment costs, meaning up to a maximum of 50,000 per project. And applicants may also benefit from a top-up of a 10% or 20% tax credit on any one or two of the following. So if the project results in a new or an expansion of investment in Gozo, if the project is carried out by an undertaking established for less than 3 years, meaning it is a startup, and if the project is supported by an independent carbon footprint audit and assessment demonstrating a significant reduction in the applicant's carbon footprint. Now, given that this scheme is tied towards the reduction of carbon emissions, the eligible costs will cover the following. So we're looking into upgrades, improvements, or modifications in plant, machinery, equipment, and in digital technologies of what is currently being used by the applicant, and not any new processes or new investments being adopted by the applicant. Now, the project must be implemented within 12 months from the date when funding is approved, and the investment must be retained for at least 3 years. And it's a good point to note that applicants can even submit more than one application. Applicants can implement more than one of the following measures. The first measure is waste minimization, And this covers the introduction of new industrial solution or strategic modifications to existing plant in order to reduce materials per production unit and to reduce packaging and to even increase the lifespan of their products. The second measure is sustainable materials, and this is aimed at investments concerning the change of materials in the production process and even products which ensure better recovery of material at the product's end of life. These will include sustainable and/or ecologically friendly material and even the reduction and elimination of toxic materials. The investments can even include pilot projects and even changes in the value chain. The third measure is energy efficiency, and this measure targets investments in solutions to reduce power in relation to machinery and lighting, improving insulation of buildings, and investments in cogeneration of heat and power and geothermal installations. And the fourth measure is water efficiency. This measure will see investments in solutions to improve water usages, such as the investments in closed-cycle water systems and investments to store runoff rainwater. And the fifth measure is sustainable digitalization. And this last measure will adopt digital solutions to enhance environmental performance, such as the following: increase process efficiency through IoT, so we're looking into smart HVAC and even system monitoring, solutions to establish enhanced optimized logistics, which include partnering with other firms which result in the reduction of carbon emissions, the installation of building management systems to optimize heat, lighting, and even power usage, and last, Industry 4.0 solutions, which lead to higher automation and rapid customer-focused customizations. Now, for all these measures which I have just mentioned, applicants are to give the reduction of carbon footprint per year as a result of this investment. Now, if an entity cannot submit an application concerning energy efficiency under the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant because of reasons linked to de minimis or because their project is of quite a large value, then one can then refer to the investment aid for energy efficiency projects. Now, the scheme aims to facilitate investments in technological solutions which provide higher energy efficiency and which contribute directly towards a reduction in energy requirements. And the aid awarded shall be in the form of a cash grant or a tax credit or even a combination of both. The scheme will cover the following eligible costs. So we're looking into the investment in substitution or upgrading of equipment and installations to reduce energy consumption, renovation or upgrading of equipment of existing installation for heating or cooling systems, and the improvement of energy efficiency of existing illumination systems. Now, with the application, applicants must submit an energy audit, which must be carried out by a certified energy auditor or a specific proposal prepared by a warranted engineer. Only costs directly linked to the achievement of a higher level of energy efficiency shall be considered eligible under the scheme. The eligible costs shall be the extra investment costs necessary to achieve the higher level of energy efficiency, and the project must entail an investment of at least 10,000 euros, which is directly related to achieving at least 10% energy savings. Now, with regards to the aid intensity, small enterprises will be getting 50% funding of their project value. Medium enterprises will be getting 40%, while large enterprises will be getting 30%. Now, in order to consolidate these three schemes, I have prepared 3 case studies. Hopefully, it will help you to understand better the aim of this scheme and will also help you to identify the best scheme for your proposed project. So the first case study, here we have a medium-sized company, and this company would like to invest in an add-on equipment to their current air handling installation, which will increase the energy efficiency of the system. The project value is forecast to be 150,000 excluding VAT. Now, given the project value and given that the measure is targeted towards energy efficiency, this medium-sized company can apply under investment aid. The aid intensity tied towards this company is 40%, and if we had to calculate it, the funds disbursed would be 60,000. And as I said previously, this can be distributed as a cash grant or a tax credit or even a mixture of both. The second case study targets a self-employed applicant, and the request is for advisory on digitization of business processes. Now, the advisory service is targeted to cost 4,000 excluding VAT. So in this case, our applicant would need to submit an application under Change to Grow under phase 1, which is the advisory phase. And the aid intensity linked towards this scheme is of 75%. And therefore, our applicant will be getting 3,000 in cash grant. Now, the same applicant would like to implement one of the recommendations put forward by the advisor. And this applicant would like to implement a cloud-based enterprise resource planning solution, which will improve the efficiency of the entity's processes. So therefore, the applicant needs to submit a second application under Change to Grow under the implementation stage. The project value is assumed to be around 8,750 euros excluding VAT. Now, even though the aid intensity is 75%, the maximum capping under the second stage is at 5,000 euros. So therefore, our applicant will be getting 5,000 euros in a cash grant. And our final case study is of a large enterprise. So we have a large company that wants to invest in replacing all the company's ACs with a smart HVAC system and optimization of logistics by partnering with other firms. The project value is expected to be around 90,000 euros excluding VAT. So in this case, our applicant can submit an application under the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant because the project is under 100,000 euros. The aid intensity linked towards this scheme is 50%, and therefore the funds dispersed under this particular scheme would be at 45,000 euros in the form of a cash grant. So from my end, we have covered the three schemes. So if we have any questions related to these schemes or maybe related to any other general questions, I think we can move forward with the questions.
I've got a few questions myself for you, Nadia, but before we go through them, we've got a poll to share with the attendees. And I'd like Jeffrey to give a bit of context about the project, and then I'll share the poll. This will give time for people to answer the poll while we go over the Q&A. Over to you, Jeffrey, and then I'll be sharing the poll.
Thank you, Simi. Very well. So I would just like to quickly introduce not just the project, but also the services that we will be providing. So the first thing I would like to state is what is it that the project partners, which are the Malta Business Bureau, the Water Chamber, the Energy and Water Agency, as well as relevant stakeholders such as Malta Enterprise, what is it that we are trying to achieve for energy efficiency? Very simply, we would like Maltese businesses to increase their energy efficiency through tangible projects. Now, we are aware that this can be a considerable process, and particularly amongst SMEs, there might not necessarily be the in-house expertise on how to move from an inefficient state to an efficient state. So if I were to summarize this process, how would you, a manufacturing SME, increase your energy efficiency? So the steps would be, the first thing that would need to be done is to study your energy consumption, as our colleague Lorna mentioned earlier, through an energy audit. An energy audit is going to take stock of your operations, your processes, identify what is being consumed and where, and whether there are any measures which you can take to improve the efficiency. The next step after that is to be supplied with an energy audit report and to identify the measures that the report recommends the company to consider. Once these measures have been identified, funding needs to be secured. And following on from there, project implementation. Now, the WeMake project has been designed to offer you support at each of these critical junctions. So when it comes to an energy audit, manufacturing SMEs, well, SMEs in general, are very lucky in Malta because EWA does offer financial support through a grant to implement an energy audit. Through the project, we are happy to provide manufacturing SMEs with support in tapping this grant. So any requests for information, any clarifications regarding the forms, you are very welcome to contact any of the project partners, and we will guide you on how to submit the request. Once you have carried out your energy audit and you have your energy audit report, it is highly likely that the report will contain a list of areas which have been identified as potential areas for improvement. And recommendations could be made. To give you an example, off the top of my head, you might have inefficient lighting, an air compression system which is not adequately calibrated or which has leaks, steam detection, ambient cooling, insulation, building insulation, many other such recommendations which you are considering. If you are not familiar with the recommendations or the thematic area, you are very welcome to contact the project. And we will be organizing on a regular basis best practice workshops where you will be able to meet with other business peers that have demonstrated best practice on the area that you are interested in. These events will be small events. The intention is that all participants will be able to dialogue and learn from the best practice entities' experience in identifying and implementing the energy efficiency measure. What we hope is that this will provide you with all of the information that you need in order to take a decision and to efficiently and effectively also manage this project that has arisen out of the energy audit recommendations. So once you have identified the measure, you've decided, right, what we want to do is we want to focus on more efficient ambient cooling. Great. You have identified the costs that this project would involve, and you would like support in identifying your financing options. We will provide that support. So as you are seeing today, I would like to thank Ms. Nadia Gregg for Malta Enterprise for explaining the Malta Enterprise schemes. There are support measures available. We're happy to help you identify the measures that are available not only through public entities, but even through non-private entities. Once you have identified the financing, it moves on to project implementation. So you know what it is that you want to do in order to improve your ambient cooling. You've identified your suppliers, you've won your financing. Now it is time to perform the upgrade. Over here, if you need support, again, we are happy to network you with performing enterprises on that particular thematic area. Additionally, the project will also be helping enterprises that are interested in research, development, innovation. This is an area which the Malta Business Bureau has been involved in energy efficiency for 9 years now, ever since the Energy Efficiency Directive was transposed into national law. And what we have seen over the years is that the Maltese businesses do innovate on their products, and there is considerable expertise on that front. However, when it comes to the facilities, there might not necessarily be the same level of expertise. We have also seen quite a few interesting projects arising from Maltese entities or by Maltese entities, where energy or water consumption has been reduced through innovative collaborations. And we are very happy to be bringing some of these enterprises directly to you. You'll be able to sit down with them, you'll be able to talk to them, again, through RDI workshops, learn from their experiences in terms of how is it that they identified the problem, what measures were relevant to the area that they wanted to improve, what was the innovation process like, and what additional support did they need and that they managed to find. So, long story short, you want to move from an inefficient state to a more efficient state. Why? More environmentally friendly, lower running costs, a win-win, great. How are you going to do this? When it comes to energy, the first step is study your consumption, identify the areas for improvement. And that can be done through an energy audit. The next step is to identify the measures that are recommended in the energy audit report, select the ones that are relevant for you. And at that point in time, you look into the financing. Once you have won the financing, you move on to the project implementation. At each of these points, the Remake project is offering you support. Energy audit, we're happy to support you in applying for an energy audit grant. Identification of which energy audit report recommendations should you implement. We will carry out B2B networking for you, where you can speak to enterprises that have performed on the various thematic areas. When it comes to identifying financing, we are happy to network you with entities which provide, public and private, which provide financing for energy efficiency projects by businesses in Malta. When it comes to implementing the actual project, again, we're happy to network you with B2B workshops, which will allow you to identify and effectively gain the experience and the knowledge from other enterprises that have done these things before. On top of that, if you want to innovate, super, that's great news. We'll help you there too. How will we help you? Networking with enterprises that have a successful track record and are willing to share their knowledge and experience directly through workshops. On top of that, if you need any additional support, which has not been mentioned over here, let us know and we will see what it is that we can do to help. So again, who are we? So what is the WeMake project? It's an energy efficiency campaign driven by the Malta Business Bureau, Chamber, Energy and Water Agency. We're collaborating extensively with other relevant stakeholders in the enterprise. And what we are going to do now is we'll be posting a poll on right on the chat. All you will need to do with this poll is enter your email address and identify which of these specific actions you would like us to contact you about. We will then contact you directly. So, for example, you have expressed interest in applying for an energy audit. How can we make this happen? I do believe that is it from my side. So thank you, and over to you, Tim.
Thank you very much, Jeffrey. One thing I'd like to emphasize is that if your company has already done an energy audit, that's merely the beginning of the project, and the rest of the project is very relevant to you. So we would look at the recommendations of the energy audit you've already done and get kickstarted on the process. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. We have a question which I think should be directed to Nadia. Are you seeing the question? Shall I read it out? Is the Smart and Sustainability Investment Scheme available for large enterprises? And does it include R&D and implementation?
Right, so the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant is directed to all sizes of companies. So with regards to large companies, it is available as well. Now, with regards to R&D, I need further specifics in order to answer the question. So they can either give us more information right now, or else they can send us an email and then we can direct them accordingly, because each project would be individual, and we would rather assess them on a case-by-case basis.
I have a question, Nadia, on this note. Malta Enterprise has RDI schemes already, separate ones, isn't that right?
Yes.
And you also mentioned that the Smart and Sustainable can be matched with Change to Grow. Is that right?
No, with regards to Change to Grow can be used as a kickstart towards the process of Smart and Sustainability.
Okay.
So it could be that one of the recommendations that the advisor puts in his report, they can be claimed under the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant, because it might be of a larger project value.
Thank you.
In that sense. But it cannot be used, the Change to Grow report drafted by the advisor cannot be used as an additional incentive in order to get an extra 10% in tax credit. That is a separate and a totally different type of report, which is linked specifically towards the investment and towards the carbon footprint of that particular investment.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Nadia. Yes.
If I may interject
Go ahead.
slowly. We did not discuss this here, but if it's R&I more or R&D related to water or energy, the agency under the R&I strategy that's for which the agency is responsible, we run a scheme specifically or R&I related to the energy water nexus. So the company and the scheme covers from design to full development and production. So if anyone has an idea that would like to work on, please do go on our website under R&I. Maybe it is what this person is trying to sponsor basically, or get support for. The next call, because we open the call annually, will be open around April, but there's enough information on the past calls so the person can see whether it's applicable for them or not.
Thank you, Lorna. I have a question for Nadia. In the Smart and Sustainable, the case study you mentioned, or within the presentation, that it's up to 50K would be the limit. That 50K is project maximum value or subsidy that would be given by Malta Enterprise.
Right, Patrick, in order to clarify, 50,000 is in the form of the cash grant. It is the aid, the maximum aid awarded for that particular applicant. So if you have a project value, which is of 100,000, the aid intensity is 50%, so the maximum grant tied to that is 50,000. If you have, let's say, a project which is of 120,000, they can still claim, but the maximum amount they can get as a reimbursement is 50,000 in a cash grant, unless they would like to apply for a top-up in tax credit, but they would need to take one of those 3 other measures which I explained previously.
Okay, thank you, Nadia. We have another question. I think this also applies to Nadia. If we have already identified, for example, to invest in a more energy efficient air compressor without an energy audit, would this fall within one of the grant schemes?
In that case, they would be able to apply under the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant, because we are not asking for any audit or any report in this case. The only scheme which is requesting an energy audit is the investment aid for energy efficiency projects in that case.
Okay, thank you. Do I have any further questions that we can put to our panelists? I'm not seeing any here.
What I can draw from the last question, which was offered, is once again the need to emphasize that a lot of companies have already done their energy audits, but by no means does that mean that whatever else we've presented today is not relevant to you. So again, you can hopefully mix and match the services and solutions offered to find the best fit. And I remind you, for us, it's extremely important that you answer the poll if you haven't already done so, because that will show us how we can help you in the most effective way possible. And the bottom line of the project, and the reason we're holding this event today, is that we recognize that for a lot of companies, sometimes it may not seem like it's worth it to go through the whole hassle of investing in a scheme because of the amount of human resources which are necessary. The point of the project is to make this as easy as possible for you by offering you all the guidance needed and helping you form a relationship with the institutions who are here today.
Thank you, Tim. I have one other question again for Nadia. If a company wishes to invest in monitoring equipment to monitor their energy within their premises, not just a government meter, which scheme would be the most appropriate?
They want to monitor their energy.
That's right.
I would need to look into that because at first stage, I don't really think that it would qualify under any specific scheme.
I was thinking maybe it could qualify under digitalization, because in reality, an IoT, it's what you'll be installing is an IoT devices to give you energy readings. So it could possibly fall under that, maybe.
But we need to keep in mind that the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant is actually tied to the investment that is going to be implemented must actually carry out a reduction in CO2. So that particular investment, we need to identify the reduction of CO2 as a result of its implementation. So basically, it has to be linked to that particular process.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadia. So we have another question. I believe this should be directed towards Lorna. What's the next step in terms of starting the process of organizing the energy audit? Personal meeting on site? I think Lorna can reply to that.
Yes, if it's intended to commence an energy audit, then yes, I would suggest to get in contact with an energy auditor, then start with a meeting. If it's for us to help you through an energy audit, just get in contact with us. We'll send you all the information for the scheme and where to find the list of auditors, or get in contact with MBB, because they will also be able to guide you. We'll explain briefly the process. I mean, there's no complications there. And commence the process, basically. But an energy auditor always starts an energy audit with a meeting on site, because the auditor would need to see your company, have a feel of what there is. And during the first meeting, he will also explain what is required as input from the company, and will also guide you on which aspects is believed to be most important to delve into.
What I can add to that is that you've all got my email. One of the services we're offering with the project is actually filling out the paperwork for the energy audit with you. So if you like, after this, get in touch with me. And as I've said before, it's a hand-holding step to make it as easy as possible for you, with as few human resources as possible, to make it worth your time.
I have another question, this time for Nadia. As a non-SME, what schemes are eligible under energy efficient projects, please? What are the grants for such projects? This is, I believe, a company which is a non-SME.
But what kind of company is it? What kind of entity is it?
I don't have details in the question.
All right.
I would like to introduce, maybe the client can contact you
Ideally,
directly
yes.
to.
They can either send an email directly to me, nadia.grek@maltaenterprise.com, or else they can even send an email to Business First, where Business First can answer any sort of questions related to all our Malta Enterprise schemes. And their email address is info@businessfirst.com.mt.
Nadia, if I've understood correctly, it's the schemes which you showed us are open to non-SMEs, isn't that right? But it's the energy audit which is only for SMEs.
No, the schemes are open to all SMEs.
To all companies.
To all companies, yes.
That's right. Okay, so Clint, the smart and sustainable schemes and the others will be open for your company as well. We've got another question.
The investment should be open for all. The amount, the percentage of support will vary from the size of the
percentage
company.
of support.
And the reason the energy audit is not available for non-SMEs is because it's an obligation by law, actually.
All right, okay.
Non-SMEs do give us an audit every 4 years as obliged by law.
Well, a question for Lorna possibly, but I think from your experience, how long would one need to wait to carry out a fresh energy audit? If I'm not mistaken, we had our last one done 2019.
Next round is 2023, minimum 4 years.
But that's for non-SMEs, which is legal obligation. I would like to add that if you are doing any major changes to the company, then would be after you've done those major changes, it would make sense to do an energy audit because your energy profile may have changed substantially if you've done certain investments or moved things around, etc.
Exactly.
By law, it's every 4 years for those who are obliged to do it by law. For those which are not, which are the SMEs, I think it is up to them to decide. They can do an energy audit every year, if I'm not mistaken.
It's true. I think what you mentioned is very correct. It depends probably where the company is starting from. If it's just at the beginning and you've done an audit and there are a lot of changes that have been highlighted, probably you will identify what we call the low-hanging fruit. So you can implement them fairly easily. Then yes, do take another stock take within a year or two. So you see where you need to improve further. It is when you get really to a certain level of efficiency, then that the time needs to expand because probably the investments need to be larger in order to take further steps. But if you are going through massive changes, yes, it does make sense to do an audit, at least, let's say, maybe not annually, but every 2 years to take a stock take on what you're consuming and how you measure actually the improvements is very important.
Okay, another question, this time directed towards Nadia. Are there any grants schemes which we can tap into regards to investment in sustainable energy resources, example PV panels, and CO2 recovery plant?
Right, now with regards to PV panels, Malta Enterprise does not provide assistance towards such investments. And with regards to CO2 recovery, we would need to look into that specific project to see how it's going to work out, and then we would be able to channel the correct scheme for this type of investment. I wanted to clarify myself with regards to the previous question. With regards to large companies are able to apply under Smart and Sustainability investment grant, as well as the investment aid for energy efficiency. It is only the change to grow that they are not eligible to apply for such assistance.
Okay, thank you, Nadia.
And that one is the one for consultants, right, Nadia?
It's the advisory scheme.
Yes, the advisory, which has a ceiling of 10,000 euros.
Exactly.
Okay. I don't believe we had any more questions, but I'm going to ask another question to Nadia, if you don't mind. Maybe because I haven't, because I've forgotten. What is the maximum ceiling for the energy and recovery scheme?
The investment aid for energy efficiency.
Yes.
It's an open scheme.
So there is no capping.
Exactly. So since it is it does not fall under de minimis aid, the amount, the maximum project value is not.
Is unlimited.
Is unlimited, yes.
Okay, thank you. That's very interesting. But there is a minimum, I think. Yes.
1,000. Yes.
10,000.
1,000. Yes.
10,000. Yes.
And can it be combined with the smart and sustainable or not?
In what sense?
I would need to be in a position to make an investment probably to give you more details, but can people apply for multiple schemes at the same time? You gave the example of the change to grow, which can lead to the smart and sustainable.
Yes, they can apply under different schemes as long as the investment costs are different under each separate scheme.
Okay, thank you very much, Nadia.
We have a question which is not, well, to some extent we've answered this, but I think I will read it out. Do any schemes apply for PV panels? There are schemes, but not those, correct me if I'm wrong, provided by Malta Enterprise.
Correct.
There are schemes, however, provided under the regulator for energy and water.
Agreed, yes, Patrick, you're correct.
Okay, so that answers that question. Okay, I'm going to ask a difficult question now, and if this would be to both Nadia and Lorna. The rationale behind the subsidies for PV panels is that the feed-in tariffs are subsidized, and to some extent also if they are going for grant schemes on the lower sizes, there are grants for the capital investment, but normally directed towards domestic. If a company wishes to install PV panels and applies for no grant and is going to consume all the energy generated themselves, isn't that a type of energy efficiency project?
It can be considered as an energy efficiency project, but under our specific scheme, we would not be able to provide any assistance towards such an investment.
So this is a point for further elaboration, I think. Thank you very much.
Technically, no, I will correct you there. I'm going to bring out
Correct.
the engineer now, because generating energy from renewable is good, but it doesn't. An energy efficiency project will result in you consuming less energy for the same work you're doing. So if you're still producing 100,000 units, you're, instead of doing it with, I don't know, 700 megawatts, you start doing it with 600 megawatts. So you're consuming less energy, but still producing. Using the same amount, but from renewable is a different concept. You're not becoming more energy efficient. You're using cleaner energy there. That's why they are treated as separate, even in
You're
terms
also
of
reducing
funding.
your carbon footprint,
Yeah, carbon footprint, yes.
which is the ultimate objective of all these schemes.
So now we're talking about a
It
net zero
depends
carbon
under which
building.
directives. When it comes to state aid, which are the directives, the regulations by EU given on how one government can sustain, there's a clear difference between efficiency and renewables. That's why
That
there
I
are
understand.
schemes, but they fall under different capping. That's the main reason.
Yes, thank you, Lorna. I understand.
That's why they are treated in different schemes, basically.
In a different way. Very well. I don't see any
We have
further questions.
One
Yes,
which
there
just
is.
came in the chat, yes. If you'd like
What
to
if
read
the
it out.
PV panel project is in combination with other projects that cover BMS and other related energy efficiency projects? Nadia, I think, can answer this. You can clarify, because in reality, I think we've answered this.
Ideally, with regards to specific projects, we would look into them individually. Patrick.
Okay,
Okay.
But
We
I
got
believe you
one-
can fund the different parts under different schemes.
exactly.
Agreed, yes.
Nothing stops you from doing that. You would fund the PVs under a scheme, you would fund the BMS under smart and sustainable, and the efficiency part under investment aid. But keep in mind that smart and sustainable is de minimis, so there's a limit of the project size. That's why it's kept at 50. But nothing stops a company from applying for different schemes for the same project, as long as you can break it down clearly into small things and identify clearly the savings being made at each step.
Thank you. Thank you, Lorna.
We have a question in the chat, Patrick, from Alistair.
Okay, in the chat.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, would resurfacing the facade of a building to reduce heat transfer and thus require less energy to keep the building internal temperature constant classify for such schemes grants?
Ideally, we would need to look into the type of resurfacing this project is going to entail. But projects which relate to these kind of ideas would be considered as eligible under our scheme, which is the Smart and Sustainability Investment Grant. But as I said before, we would rather look into to see the specifics of this project to make sure that it is actually eligible. And it's important because since the Smart and Sustainability is linked to the reduction of carbon emissions, we would need proof that as a result of this investment, they are going to actually reduce their carbon emissions.
Okay.
Nadia, you mentioned that for the Smart and Sustainable, people can get the amount of funding increased by having a carbon audit.
Yes.
Can you tell us more about that?
If they submit a carbon footprint audit, which states that there's going to be a significant reduction of CO2 as a result of this investment, an applicant can be awarded an additional top-up of 10%, which is 10,000 euros in tax credit. So let's say they have applied for a project value, which is of 100,000, they're getting 50,000 in a cash grant, and they're getting an additional 10%, which is 10,000 euros in tax credit. So in total, they're getting 60,000.
Thanks, Nadia. Regarding the point made regarding resurfacing the facade of a building, one thing we're going to be doing in a follow-up to this event is organizing much more personalized workshops over the next few months. I will be sending out details by email, where we will sit down with you and discuss these project ideas in more detail with the funding institutions. So we'll be able to find out exactly what is possible and what can be done and the benefits which it can bring you.
Thank you, Tim. I think we have exhausted the questions. Thank you very much to all the panelists who have given a very valid contribution. I wish to just conclude by saying that this We Make project is there to help companies do the necessary steps for assessing their energy use, seeing what is necessary, where they can invest to reduce their energy use and therefore their running costs, making them economically and environmentally more sustainable, and subsidizing those investments through the schemes that Malta Enterprise has to offer. So I think there is a lot of potential, something which is being driven not only by the need for environmental awareness and reduction of global warming, but also by the need to be more sustainable and ecological in the way we operate. Sustainability, I see, has two sides, both the financial and economic side, which will be benefit by these schemes, and also the environmental side. With that, I would like to thank everyone and hope to see you on a subsequent event, as Tim was indicating. Thank you very much and good afternoon to everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Good day.